I want us to go into a bit of reconciliation, healing, and how that process actually looked like for you.
The person I grew up to know as my dad passed away. The only reconciliation that I had about not growing up with a dad is with God.
As reconciliation, you always think about two parties being present, or someone who's in a similar situation who either the father has passed away or the father doesn't want to come to a meeting, doesn't want to reconcile. How do you even go about that?
I just had so much peace and love and joy from God, that I didn't feel like I needed to do more on my part, that I'd done what I could. Obviously you are not in control of the things that you experience, but you are responsible for your response to them, basically.
Just how those things have affected our relationships communally. I was always jealous of kids who have packed lunch. Like, I don't know, you can tell
they're intentional. Their parents have time.
They have time.
Without realizing, I thought they were better than me.
Me, before I submitted my feelings towards my dad to Christ, probably wouldn't have been able to go through certain tough situations I've had to go through with my friends and some awkward moments.
You can find part 1 of this conversation on the previous upload. Here we're continuing with part 2. Enjoy.
You know what I mean?
Something I always share with people is that God is never surprised about anything that happens. Like, God isn't gonna be like, oh my goodness, it's raining.
Can you imagine? I didn't see BBC didn't tell me that
rain was gonna come.
That is crazy.
And I think you can find comfort in that. I know some people can twist it on his head and be like, also God knew that my dad was gonna leave me, and God still allowed it. No, I don't think so. Like, God's intention is for no one to be abandoned, right? But in the sense of even in you having an absent parent, specifically an absent dad, God knew what would result of it. So the best place to go is to him, so you can receive grace and mercy to continue and heal and become who God has called us to be, basically. So that always brings comfort of every expectation or situation that has happened, a life-changing situation. So it's
definitely
necessary.
Because there was definitely a time for me, just like what you said now, I couldn't understand why God would let something like that happen. For a long time I felt like, what was the purpose of that? And why, how do you feel like that would have brought some form of benefit? And I remember a time where I really started to go to God about that. I was more so angry with him, and I'll kind of bring it before him. Thank God I did anyway. And I think not that I started to almost glamorize my situation, but it's just to say I started not seeing I wasn't seeing the purpose, but I was seeing the God behind my situation, if that makes sense. Because God isn't necessarily going to tell me, oh, so I let him do this because I'm not going to be privy to that. But what I am going to be privy to is that whatever happened to me, he was working it out for my good. And so I started to see, oh no, actually God is working this out for my good. I might have not seen how that looked like, but it's because I chose to overlook my situation and more so look at God. So when we talk about the hyper independency as well, I think that was a major one for me. Almost I don't need men. And I jumped on the whole I didn't say it verbally because I had great brothers.
Men are trash.
Yeah, I jumped on that a little bit. You know what I mean?
I was a chief.
You're the head of
Men are trash committee. This is years ago, many years ago.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't believe that
anymore, of course.
But and I was deeply rooted in not having a father figure, and then the men that I was interacting and getting into situations, whatever ship it was with them, just was you know what, it
wasn't making sense. And I feel like one thing that God has helped me with is having a more healthy view of men. Because I think as well, when I had the whole men are trash movement, I wasn't the best sister to my brothers at one point. I was actually very rude, and I'm kind of so obviously I'm their sister, so I get to see their emotions, and I'll kind of pick at them oh, why are you crying? You're a man, bro. Pattern up. Oh, they hated that. One day they sat me down and they really gave it to me and told me to stop saying that. Because my brothers are more, they express more than me.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. And I would just pick on them for doing that for a time, because I felt, men are trash, like, and you don't really have it that hard, so pattern up. But they helped me with that. And I think one thing that God has changed in me is definitely having a more healthy view of men. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like in this world we need that, because we've definitely come to a place where we feel like we don't need men.
Yes, a lot of women, a lot of like movements, a lot of things that are being pushed at the moment is like to, come to that conclusion, basically.
And when you're on the other side, when I'm saying like, no, they play a role, it's almost like someone thinks I'm like, oh, like I'm not a feminist, I'm a pick me, I don't stand for the girls or whatever. But it's like,
I don't want to be associated with any of this things.
And it's like, I have a son, like, you know what I mean? What am I going to teach him growing up? You know, I have a loving husband and I have 3 brothers. Like, what am I, how am I going to navigate that?
And it's not to say that, again, human beings are not flawed. They are men and women. So on both sides, who are, not helping status quo, whatever the status quo is. But we shouldn't have a blanket statement that is, driven or sponsored by our trauma
and our pain. Because on the other side, like I spoke to Mike's my husband, and my friend Abakan, and we had a little conversation. I think it should be out there. We did an episode, but let's see. And we were just talking about how, like, the biblical man and masculinity and stuff like that. And I posed a question to them, like, sometimes it's hard for women to reconcile, even Christian women, to reconcile that, like, no, you lot are Christian men, but also, like, men have done some really messed up stuff, or they haven't been present, or they've hurt me in relationships and stuff. And it's like reconciling that this is who God has called you to be, but you've fallen short of that quite a few times. And there's a lot of women, Christian women as well, who haven't been able to reconcile that, even though they love the Lord and they love their Christian brothers, but it's like through their experiences, they haven't been able to do that. And we see such a big role that men play in lives. Women play a massive role. Obviously, today we're talking about father issues. So we do see a role that, like, men play in women's lives. I think I was listening to the Under the Bed podcast recently, just came out. And I think I don't know the girl's name, unfortunately, but she was speaking about when she, I think she was in a relationship. I think the guy cheated on her, something like that anyway. But it opened up a long period of, like, low self-esteem issues and stuff like that. And it's like, it's so interesting how, like, I don't know, it's so interesting that the impact that men can have in our lives, in essence, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's greater or it's less than someone else's. It's just like, for a lot of women, they can have bad relationships, and it leads into like a 10-year span of low self-esteem, you know what I mean? So I guess this is also a charge. Well, as I speak to my brothers about it, I speak to my younger brother, it's like a charge for our brothers, our men, to also pick up that mantle, and try to be a bit more, just try to be a bit more submitted to God in their choices. That's the word that I was saying. And that's why I say I wasn't sure how much my dad was submitted to God when he made certain choices. I think he was just thinking about.
And someone I've also come to giving grace with, especially my mom. I know obviously this is about, like, fathers and stuff, but obviously the impacts of not having a dad impacted my mom and I's relationship really terribly. And when I became Christian, because I didn't really, like, go to church like that before anyways, I believe that the Holy Spirit began to remind me that just as I'm growing up and having experiences, and experiences are, forming, like, my beliefs and my views of things, it's the same thing my mom had. Like, she's a person.
She's just a girl.
Because sometimes we separate that, right? It's like your parents now, like, you can't have a life. You don't have experience. They have their own pain that they're carrying as well sometimes. And I had to come and know her as a person as well, and, like, try and also build a friendship with her. And unfortunately, with dads as well, sometimes when they've left, this is a really, really hard thing to do anyways, is to try and think, oh my goodness, this might just be like a pattern that you were sharing that they're replicating, right? And it's like, well, because no one held the previous person before them, accountable. Like they can't see why anything they're doing is wrong because they don't know any better. Because there's a whole generation before us where, like you were saying, they just up and go back to Nigeria, and for whatever reason that's the dynamic and situation that they like agree to, right? And they, like you said, they even go to church. Christians and pastors would even be aware of this setup, which shouldn't be the case, right? And no one called them out of it, basically. But now this new generation, like that we are, like the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, whatever you are, people are like holding people more accountability, especially in their faith. Like people actually, like you were saying, they're reading their Bible. Like they're just not doing things just because like someone told them to do, right? Like they're reading scriptures and they're seeing the role a father is meant to play in a house. They're seeing the role a mother should play in their house, and they're saying, they're challenging the status quo and saying like, I want better for when I get married and like I have kids. Like I was reading a story on Twitter the other day, and the lady was sharing about how like a woman up and like a woman was married to a man. They had 5 kids, right? And the man said, like this marriage is not working. Like he wants to go back to Nigeria, right? Okay. And then she was like, okay, don't worry. So she left. She went to Nigeria. She left him with the 5 kids, and he went ballistic because that was his plan. That was what he was about to do.
That is crazy.
And people were literally like on Twitter, which is surprising, especially this is like a Nigerian family, right? Nigerians were speaking about the situation, and I think Nigerians in Nigeria talking, like weighing in on the situation, and they were thinking, like, who the heck did he think he was leaving 5 kids for and going back to Nigeria?
I hear it.
So that's why I'm saying, like, this generation, they're definitely like challenging men to, like, do your role, like the bare minimum of you decided to, get married in most cases and agree to have a child, or in cases, children. Who are you leaving them for? Who are you leaving your wife for?
No, honestly.
Who's like, obviously God's grace and everything, but do you know how hard it is for a woman with 5 kids to remarry? Who is stepping in for you for 5 kids?
Even like, just to have 5 kids, like by herself, like, come on.
Why is the response, it's not working, I'm gonna go to another continent?
That is too funny, bro. Sorry. I think it's so sad how ingrained it is in them to have such a response. And it's normal.
Yeah, and his sisters were like begging the women to come back.
To do what? So they can swap?
She was like, I'm not doing that unless there's going to be a proper arrangement.
No, I hear her. What a move, but I hear her, bro.
So things are definitely like changing. Which is really good that people are, like you said, are holding people accountable. People are willing to have hard conversations and actually using the Bible to actually go back to, hold on now, we're Christians here. This is the standard. This is the bare minimum. Like, you're not, babysitting your child. That's your parenting. Child, You're looking after your child. Like, if things aren't working out, there's other measures, there's other places you can look to. Like, separation is not like, shouldn't be the first response. And in cases where people do separate, you need to still pull your weight and be present for your children. Like, that is the bare minimum that you have to do.
No, honestly. And I want us to go a bit into as well, like, I spoke on like a little bit about reconciliation, but we didn't speak about how that looked like for you. So I want us to go into a bit of reconciliation, healing, and how that process actually looked like for you and that story.
So I've for me, like, the only reconciliation that I had about not growing up with a dad, like a biological dad anyways, is with God, because the person I grew up to know as my dad passed away like 2-3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago now. And how I even found out that he passed away was I just came into the living room. This was before I got married, and I just saw my mom was just like in tears because she had gotten the phone call from like a relative and stuff. And I had never spoken to him like anyway since I was 8 anyways. So, but I had already like had made my, like, I guess, peace or like reconciled with like, I'm not going to allow this life-changing experience to like continue making decisions in my life. For me, like definitely something with God that I had to sit down and actually be like, I want to be responsible and take accountability as well. There's this quote, it's so amazing. I saw it on someone's WhatsApp story a while ago, not from an uncle and auntie, by the way, like someone my age, and it was something about like paraphrasing of like, obviously you are not in control of the things that you experience, but you are responsible for your response to them, basically. So that whole healing process that I had to go through with you at uni, which was extremely tough, but essential, like very important, definitely helped me to reconcile and like heal, or like and continue to like heal and like be at peace, you know, with that as well, and being content with God being my father, right? Like it's so easy to naturally focus on who isn't there, but sometimes let's focus on who is there, right? Like, fair enough, I didn't have a biological dad be present at milestones, but there were other men who stepped up and like did what they could do, and above it all, God was present in all of those milestones. Like God was proud of me when I graduated. Like God was there at my wedding, and he was pleased with like the decision that I was making. Like God is like the ultimate granddad for my son in a sense, and like I still have father figures now who are still like who still check in on me and like, you know, want to know how I'm doing, and like people I can still go to and like, you know, confide in, and like you just share my thoughts and like just know them as on that sort of level. Obviously it wouldn't be the exact same of it, but like God has been kind enough to still like give me like people that I can just lean on, basically. So that has helped and shaped what I know to be reconciliation and healing.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that's like that's the tough thing, I guess, because reconciliation, you always think about two parties being present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In this case,
Did you feel like you wanted to have some form of conversation before you passed away?
I think because of how unique the situation was, of that I knew there was some other stuff going on, right? With like, you know, like how they separate and stuff, which isn't my place to share. I just like had so much peace and like love and joy from God, like that I didn't feel like I needed to do more on my part, that I'd done what I could. Because like, you know, like in your case, your dad wanted to reconcile and you wanted to reconcile, but in certain people's cases, they don't want to. Like, you're not gonna kidnap them, put them to Nando's and say, me and you are gonna sort this out. They have to be willing to, you know, want to do that themselves, and it's hard, but it is the reality of things, right? And that's why I'm so grateful that I didn't have to do this alone. I had God to do it with me, because I think if I wasn't a Christian, knowing that, you know, the person I grew up to as my dad had passed away, and the last conversation I had with them was when I was 8, that would wreck me. Like, boy. Absolutely.
100%.
And it would be okay if it wrecked me.
Like, I wonder, like, for someone who's in a similar situation, who either the father has passed away, or the father doesn't want to come to a meeting, doesn't want to reconcile. Like, I know it's hard to boil it down to this, but it's like, how do you even go about that? You know what I mean?
I think it's definitely being led by God. Because something I've come to realize in terms of like when you're praying, like on behalf of someone else's like free will, I want to like phrase this really, really simply and properly. But say for instance, me and you say we're really good friends, and I've hurt you or you've hurt me, and we're not speaking anymore, and I'm praying that you will like want to reconcile, right? I can keep praying about that, but you have to be receptive to God knocking on your heart to be open to it. So if nothing is changing and I keep praying at that, basically, and that's the only thing I'm praying at, it will start to impact my relationship with God, because then I'll be thinking, oh my goodness, this is just not important to God. So that's why I'm trying to say, by like being led about like how you're praying about it, and not like putting the weight of the response or like the reconciliation on yourself alone, but trusting that like if this is something God is leading you to pray about, that God will definitely like, he will have a way of like doing what needs to be done. But if you're praying and, you know, God says, okay, like it's fine, it's sorted, don't keep like continue if God has already said it's sorted. Just let it play out and like just be led with God about it. But definitely like boundaries, because you don't want to like be pushing on a door that doesn't want to be open, because you will hurt yourself. So if, especially this is the case that your parents still alive, kicking and like thriving, right? Your dad is anyways, you just have to, I don't want to say eyeball it, but you have to go with the spirit. Like you have to go according to the Lord. If the Lord says fast, fast. If the Lord says pray, pray. If the Lord says pray at this time, pray at this time. The Lord says send a message, send a message. Like you have to be completely like dependent on God, almost as though you're blind to like what will happen, or know how to go about it. If not, you might be opening doors to be hurt again, or hurt more, or be setting yourself, like you make it an idol, like that reconciliation becomes an idol, which then is a very risky place to be. So still having faith, still trusting God, but being led by like the Spirit of God of like what your next steps and your actions should be. But being open, like remaining open, because I know there are people who pray and want reconciliation, but they don't actually want reconciliation. Because when, say for example, you're about to get married now, you know you're not speaking to your dad, you're allegedly praying for reconciliation, the right thing would be to extend the olive branch and let them know you're getting married. Like, you know, see like if
how they respond.
How they respond, if they would want to even come to the wedding. Do you get what I mean? Like still want to honor them as your dad at the wedding, like let them sit at the high table with you. Do you get what I mean? Like do it, and do it properly. Don't say that you want something but you don't actually want it. So actually understand, do I genuinely want reconciliation? And you should, right? So go back to God and say, help my heart to be tender so that I can desire reconciliation with my dad. And like maybe that should be the prayer point first, even before like going into like bring reconciliation, and then God brings this person and like you literally like, no, actually I want the reconciliation on my terms basically. And that's just a very dangerous game to go. And in some cases, some dads go and start another family. They have other kids. You having a relationship with your dad means you're gonna be opening a relationship to meet your dad's new wife and your siblings, your half siblings. That is, you get what I mean? But it's a lot.
It's giving one step at a time.
Yeah, like very much being led by God, basically. If not, you could start something and you realize, actually, I'm not ready for it, and I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut it down now, basically. And these are hard things.
Yeah, it's messy because you know, you being ready doesn't mean that you said, "Oh, I'm done with the pain." Like it's still playing out throughout the whole thing. So it's quite messy. It's like there's no A to B, you know, method to it. But I think definitely, like you said, just submitting it to God throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole process.
Though I empathize with anyone listening in such a situation, because it can be so hard.
It's so complex,
so painful,
and I think that's the thing with family stuff. Like, it's always just so complex. Like, you didn't choose them, right? But it's like, you know, you're meant to love them. You know that that's the right thing to do, right? Especially in cases where it's like, oh, I'm reaching out to my dad. Of what I've heard, I'm reaching out to my dad, and like he's moved on. Like he has a whole new family and kid.
Yeah, that's like another pain, because you've realized that, and it's like, oh well, I had the one pain, now I've got another one where it's like, nah.
In most cases where you can't handle all of this by yourself, you might need to seek wise counsel, because you need someone to be able to, you know, like be there
and lead you through that,
whether that's leadership in your church, or a mentor, like someone who is not too as close to the situation, because it would in a sense be like the blind leading the blind. Like your mom might be too close, your siblings might be too close, you get what I mean? a friend that's in the same boat with you is usually a red flag of not doing that with. But yeah, like as someone that the Lord again will lead you to like, you know, like help you journey with that, like that whole season with. But I think the big takeaway is not allowing it to like consume
you. Oh, that's so hard, man. I can only imagine, and we sympathize with anyone listening in such a situation. Like, that's not easy. And obviously, as we talk about reconciliation, like she's just say, it's like I'm not saying do the best that you can do, but do the best that you can do with the parameters that is there. Do you know what I mean? Like for some people, their dad's in a whole nother country. You know what I mean? There's distance between them, or there's other family issues that that is causing a mess. Like it's just it's very, very messy. Like as I think about it, and it's like we're not prescribing a particular way that you have to do things. We're also showing how we've navigated it in a way to encourage, but I think above all, just pushing people to go back to God, in that situation. And I think you've mentioned a little bit as well, like how these things affect our relationship with God. You said like not having expectations for people, but also not having expectation for God, and in some ways not even having faith in God that he can actually show up in some ways. And I think other people can resonate with like the whole not even finding it hard to see God as a father, as a loving father, as a father that cares. Oftentimes because we're looking at how our earthly father did it. And for a long time for me as well, I found it hard to even call God a father, like actually use that word. That wasn't in my vocabulary until like a little bit later on. I don't know, maybe 23, 22 or something like that. But for a long time, it was hard to say that word. Like I knew he was my father. Oh no, not 22, like 18. Sorry, I remember being at home, not at uni. I knew he was, but it's like, it's almost awkward. And then even when I met my dad again, it was weird to call him dad, so I didn't say anything. And then even when I got married and my father-in-law, it was weird to even call him dad, because I'll call him dad. I call him dad now. It's not weird, but there was a time where it felt weird to even say that, because like there's no one that I'm really calling dad. And we know that people can resonate with those things. I think it's interesting how our earthly relationships affect our relationship with God, though that's not the order that I guess he wanted it to be like. And then he is the hierarchy of it all, the highest model of them all. I think because we're so flawed and we can only see what we do see, it's easy to attribute those things to God. So what happened for you that you eventually were able to see God as a father and have expectations for him?
I think it's really going back to the point of being vulnerable, of like literally scriptures is covered with God being known as Father. Jesus, who we are called to be like, refers to God as Father. Like he says, I only see what my Father is doing. I and the Father are one. Like all of these things. So I know that I'm ought to see God as Father, and there's this disconnect. So it's really being vulnerable with him, that like, God, I desire to see you as a father, but because of how my like not having an earthly father, I just can't like do it at the moment. And knowing that God is more than gracious to help us go through that journey of first healing, and then like knowing God like Father. And I think it all starts with then having childlike faith again, of like,
boy, that's hard.
Yeah, like
that's hard after you've not been able to be a child.
Yes, like properly. But that's like taking on big levels of humility now then. And you find yourself trusting and relying God on really simple things, and like God would like really come through. And I remember when I just became Christian, and like I was in sixth form at this time, and I got on the bus to school. So I was running late actually, and I got off the bus and it was raining, and I was like, oh God, like just casually I was like, and I had my natural hair out, and that's like the worst comfort, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, God, I really wish like it wasn't raining right now, just casually, and it literally stopped raining.
Oh wow.
And I think things like that really started to help build my faith of like, God hears, God sees, or I'll be at uni and I'm getting ready with my curtains closed because of how they build, you know, the year comes of like, you can basically see through someone else's window. And I'll hear the Holy Spirit say, take a coat, take a jacket, that it's cold outside or it's raining. And I'll get outside, lo and behold, it is cold, it is raining, and it's meant to be summer. So really like allowing the Holy Spirit and really God, right? Just to begin to like soften your heart and like you responding in a childlike faith, basically. God saying, "Oh, go to this uni, or you're gonna make this friend at this uni." It's what a dad like would do, right? Or like I'll during exam season, I'll pray and be like, "Oh God, like I'm about to like go through exam season, and I would have a dream of the questions and then I'll target my revision to those questions, and I'll go to the exam hall, and it's those questions like God really showing me that He can be like trusted. Even when it comes to marriage, it's like, okay, God saying, okay, this is who, like, you know, like you're gonna marry and stuff, basically, and like being really, and like it's going through the process and being like, yeah, God isn't a liar, like God truly can be trusted. He's not a man, because everything that He has said, like, is true. Like God saying, oh, your first child's gonna be a boy, like you get pregnant, like the child is a boy, like so knowing that, like, yeah, like God is like, He's real, He's true. So it's even in just having like a genuine relationship with God, it starts to undo like the things that I had like thought of like what a father would be, and now having like a genuine encounter and a true relationship with God, and knowing Him as like a father. And I'm not saying that everything I've ever prayed for has like happened as I wanted, no, but everything that God has ever revealed to me has happened the way that He has desired, whether that's been through His word or whether that's been like through someone else or like anything else, but like God has like come through to let me know that I can trust Him. I remember asking God of like, why would you show me these really little things of like, oh, someone's gonna call me today, right? Like I'll just have this impression that my friend's gonna call me today, someone I haven't spoken to in a while. I have an impression that like, oh, someone I like, you know, I haven't seen in a while, I'm gonna see them today. And I remember the Holy Spirit responding to me is like, if like, you know, you have faith over little things, you will be able to have faith over bigger things that are to come. It's all about building my faith and my trust with God, and we know that like that's the only way to please God is literally having faith, right? So generally, really such a simple thing of just trusting God in the little things, trusting God with the big things that, you know, like men have disappointed you in that area, that like taking that step and that courage of being like, okay, I'm gonna do a brave thing and give it to God. What's the worst that could happen? He gives clarity, or He gives direction, or He brings peace about it. And knowing that like that is what a good father like is, and who a good father is.
And that segues as well, like as we conclude into like just how those things have affected, like obviously not only our relationship with God, like you've spoken about, but also like our relationships communally, our friends, and I think also in dating as well, which I think, to be fair, the dating one is as expected. I think maybe sometimes the friends one
is not as expected.
Yeah, because it's not man to woman or woman to man. So I guess share a bit about like how that journey went for you, like how you saw that show up in your own friendships.
I think sometimes without realizing, this when I was like maybe still in school, I was jealous of like friends that came from two-parent households. Like,
yes.
And without realizing, I like thought they were better than me in life. Like I just thought like they had things easier. And that meant that like I would not validate like what they were going through.
Oh wow.
And stuff. Because it's like, why are you so like downcast? Like you have two parents at home that who are supporting and loving of you as well. So that definitely like had an impact of like how I showed up as properly as a friend. But obviously as I became Christian and like started to get older, I knew like obviously that's not the right thing to do. And then I think maybe just character wise of, you know, being so hyper independent and like not expecting, I wouldn't want friends to help me out with things. So they'll be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna come do this for you. I'll be like, no, it's fine. I've sorted it out. I can do it myself.
And is it like a no, it's fine, where it's like actually you would have liked it, but you're just gonna say no anyway? Or is it a real, it's no, actually, I really don't want this?
I think because I'd grown up doing it all by myself for so long, I didn't even know it would be fine. It's just like, yeah, you've got your own thing to do. I've got mine thing to do. Like, I'll just like get with it.
Yeah.
I'll just figure it out basically. Or sometimes I wouldn't even tell people I had things that I had to do. I just would just
go and
do it myself. Or if I was going through a season, I wouldn't like share it with people. I would just keep it to myself, because like you were back to the point of saying like you really want to just be put together. So it's a thing of like, oh, you know what, I'm an only child. Like it's just me and my mom. I'm just gonna like, you know, do my best to like, present myself as the best as I can, and that means people can't see like certain aspects of me. I also thought some friends that I had at the time who came from single parent home, they didn't outwardly say it, but I knew they judged like that background that like I was coming from basically. So that meant like my mom wasn't included in certain things, like, but not by my friends, but like by their parents and stuff.
Wow.
And that would really like upset me basically, because it's like she's not like out here like living a life that's like not, she's working and providing for her own family sort of thing. So that would make me feel like I'm not really welcomed as much as a family. So I would try to avoid to go to certain people's like house as much. I like didn't mind being friends with them, but like I would just like still kind of like just keep to like just being friends with just them, and not, you know, knowing like all of them, like which would include.
So would that include not inviting them to your house as well?
So they again, their parents wouldn't really want them to come.
Oh, over. So interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, especially I think that's
were they African kids?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, you know, the typical Caucasian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I know. But because of the area I lived in, I think I only had like growing up, I think I only had like properly one white friend. But she was like in a similar situation to me anyway. So in terms of family dynamic, but she had a little sister. But yeah, she was like, again, like we both were going through it together.
The same thing,
we didn't actually even know what we were going through maybe. But yeah.
That's so interesting. I think, so did you surround yourself with people who came from two-parent homes?
It was a bit of both. Like obviously, naturally, I'm not gonna ask, hey, do you have a dad and a mom? That's a prerequisite about being friends.
That's funny.
But even like when it came to like trips or going out places, like it discounted me from going to certain places or going like on trips or certain things, because
financially,
because my mom was busy. So that would mean like my friends would like build on this experience
that
together.
you didn't have,
but I couldn't be part of the experience with them because I just like quite literally couldn't be part of it basically. So that would then play in with the whole idea of like, like you're better than me, which isn't true. Like,
I guess it's that low self-esteem sort of aspect as well. I feel like it's funny because like for me, I feel like I had, and if I look back in my life, I've always had friends who they all come from single parent homes.
Okay, you didn't have
I had like the one friend, and then even now I have like if I had to look, I have like if I'm just talking about my female friends, I have like one friend who comes from a home where I know her mum and dad love her, like, and that they're present, you know what I mean? Not the whole their dad is there but he's not really around.
Oh no, I have even now I have loads of friends that like come from
two-parent homes. You know, I don't know if there was a feeling like where it's like I did invalidate their experiences, because it's like, bro, like, because I had grown up in secondary school. I had a best friend who came from a two-parent home, and legit, like, their house is beautiful, and her dad is active, her mum is active, and they can afford everything and stuff like that. And she was my best friend at the time, but like, and I'll be there for her, but it's like I'll come to her house, and then you know, I'll take the train back home, like back to whatever I had. Do you know what I mean? Like she was the type, like, you know, her parents come and pick her up. Nah, I'm getting the bus, like, you know what I mean? Or I'm walking home, I'll figure it out. Or like even back then when, you know, you're young, you go to raves and stuff like that. Their parents will still come pick her up at the end. Me, I'll find my way home. Not that my mom didn't want to come and get me, but it's the single parent sort of household that they can't, you know, leave the other kids to get you and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I feel like I definitely kind of felt like they had no issues. They had nothing.
But they did. They had their own things.
They have their own real issues, you know what I mean? But it's like, well, it can't be that bad because, like, I remember going to one of my friend's houses that friend's house in the morning, and her mom's making her breakfast. Always making sure she has breakfast, and then she has packed lunch. In primary school, I was always jealous of kids who have packed lunch. I was jealous of kids who like I don't know. You can tell I don't know.
They're intentional. Their parents have time.
They have time. They've made you a sandwich and and obviously we had free school meals back then, isn't it? So I had to have that. But I was so jealous of those who didn't. They had packed lunch or they had parents who got them ready in the morning. Like just like you, my mom might go to work, so I have to wake up and get myself ready and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there was like definitely this envy, and I probably felt like I couldn't relate with those people, and so in some ways subconsciously I was always friends with the person, like people who had
you could relate with.
who I could relate with, single parent home, or their dad was somehow, or they had this particular issue or stuff like that, and in some ways like trauma bonding, I guess, because of your pain and stuff, and I think on the other side is I also was flocking towards people who were also independent, and I kind of looked down on people who
were dependent.
Were dependent. Like, you can't figure yourself out. Like, in some ways, I'm also telling them to grow up as quick as I did. So yeah, it definitely affected me in probably the way I saw people and the way I looked at people.
And naturally, that would affect the friendships you
that I had. You know what I mean? And I think the hyper independent part definitely played a role as well. But I don't know about you, but I don't think my friends when I was younger anyway, like where we're just running around for, oh, should I help you with this? Or I don't think they even thought to ask.
I don't think they I think even up to adulthood, I don't think really thought to us. Like, because I know that was like a big thing when I was getting married, because like I was the first to get married in like, most of my friendship groups, and it was only like a few people, very small like amount of people who thought to ask, what help do you need? And that's because they have like been around people who had recently gotten married, so they know like, oh, okay, like weddings take a lot, it's expensive, it's a lot of things to plan. So I don't think people ever really asked.
You know, I've been blessed with a good community. Like when I probably like after from uni and when I left, who do ask, who to this day ask and really do show up in my life. So I'm thinking more so for me anyway, like it was probably when I was in secondary school, sixth form, like our kids are running around. When I was in secondary sixth form, and I'm also saying it because I think you're young, everyone's living under their parents' roof.
I'm not faulting anyone, because people have things that they're equally going through as well. Like, so,
but it also definitely affected like communication, I would say.
Yes,
that would probably be the main thing. And even sometimes to this day, like I don't know, like I can feel something and it's not even like I want to speak to Bible or I don't want to speak to Bible, but sometimes it can be like I've spoke to Mike, so that's it now, isn't it? I don't need to speak to anyone else. So it's like I've spoke to my husband, I don't really need to speak to my friends.
I don't think that's okay. Depends on the sort of dynamic you have with your friendship group. But if that's always been it from the get-go, it's not the end of the world. But if it's not, then it can like maybe showing up. But for me, I used to be such a bad texter that my friends used to get onto me. Like I just used to I saw someone call it writer's block. That's why I'm laughing. But I just would not know what to respond. Yeah, like people would text me like, also I know when you had to answer like really, really simple questions as how are you? I thought they were conversation starters. I thought like it's small talk.
You just
I didn't think people genuinely wanted to know how am I doing. Even till today, like I really have to think, is like, are you actually like asking like, because no one really no one asks me that really. So that definitely like would show up there as well, because there was just no one really asking me how am I doing. Like even like a lot of like life choices, like, oh, what am I going to do like career wise? Obviously my mom would weigh in, but again, like that was something that I had to make that like conscious decision of myself, basically.
You know, I think as someone like just like you who is still quite independent, hyper independent, whatever, I think I found that like I had to step out of my comfort zone and be intentional
about asking for help.
Yeah. And to lean on my friends. And I am now reaping the blessings of it, basically. Like, and I remember like when I came to Christ, like not many people had, well, it wasn't a thing back then. Eniola, like, you know, like she was one of the only other people I knew. But we went like close. Like I didn't see her because we went to different schools. And so I didn't really have much friends like on the same wavelength. Because when I came to Christ, I said, I'm not going to do what my friends are doing. And it's like, if you don't do what they're doing, you don't really do anything else. So it's like, it was the end of it, to be honest. And I used to pray for years for friends. I just realized I prayed for it for years, basically. And I think what I've realized is, though I prayed for it for years, I still, through God, had to like take the step.
Yeah, to actually be a
you
good
know what
friend,
I mean?
like...
And be intentional and be a beg. Like,
I wouldn't say it's a beg. I think there's a scripture in Proverbs that says like, if you want to be a friend, like you have to show yourself friendly. Like if you want to be a good friend, some paraphrasing of some sense, basically. But you have to, if you want to help others, you also have to be in need of help. At some point,
basically. And I would do things like that. And it's brought me to a place now where I can say, and a lot of communication has brought me to a place where I can say like, I generally have really fruitful, enriching friendships. And I feel like me, before I submitted my feelings towards my dad to Christ, probably wouldn't have been able to go through certain tough situations I've had to go through with my friends, and some awkward moments where it's like, I don't even know where our friendship is heading, type of thing. And I think, honestly, through the strength that God has given me to forgive my dad has helped me in building relationships and like passing through some really tough and awkward times.
I know you'll be able to come out.
Yeah, and even if I don't come on the other side, I'll be okay. Because that I was always scared of like the fact that I won't be okay on the other side. But it's like, no matter what happens, you know,
gonna be okay.
You know, we will be okay. But yeah, that hyper-independency and like communication aspects. And as we say these things now, it's like, it's still something that God is continues working. It's not even like we've reached a high or whatever, or a certain place, but definitely like the friendship aspect as well. I was reading on Twitter as well, like, no, not on Twitter, I'm not on Twitter anymore. I was reading on TikTok what we're saying now, like how sometimes people flock towards certain people because of their traumas. So like, for example, if you had to take up the position of a mother for your time,
be friends with others,
or you'll be friends with people who you can depend on. Who, when you're around them, you don't have to think. Because I don't know if you have like some friends like Iffy, like she's like that. Like when we went to Thailand one time and we didn't know where we're going, Iffy's the type, I've got the maps, I'm gonna get us there. And some people, because they've had to be the parent, flocks towards people that give them a break, and things such as that. So it's like, you see like how much those wounds affects like even your same sex friendships, because oftentimes you just think about dating and stuff. And I feel like it made me have, I don't know if it's bad or good, but I just have like, I've always had like a respect for people who had to take up a position of like a parent early on.
Yeah,
maybe because I resonate.
Because that shouldn't be the case. But it's really sad. Yeah.
You know, but like flowing into, I guess, the dating aspect or like the relationship marriage aspect, I think that there's the typical ones where it's like, scared to commit because you don't want someone to disappoint you. So maybe you date around a lot, and maybe you always find flaws in the guy or in the woman, because you're just at the end of the day scared to commit. Or sometimes you because you've said like you have no expectations, so you might end up with anyone. Because it's just like, bro, like you had no standards or things like that. How did that sort of show up for you in the dating marriage sort of sense?
I think early on I was really like, before we got married, I was really sensitive. And I also didn't really think I was deserving of love, because like that was like my first relationship as a Christian now. Everything else had been like prior to like trying to fill a void, basically. So I thought I'm not deserving of love. Like I can't, because especially because I have come from a single parent home and my dad wasn't there. I don't know what a relationship, like a healthy marriage relationship, looks like. So it's like, how am I sure like that would be the same? Like I don't really know. I hated the idea of submission. I hated the idea of giving up my last name, because it's like, this is my like identity now, sort of thing. And something else that I really struggled with, I literally just had it in my head. It's really good.
Sensitive.
I was really sensitive, undeserving of love. And oh yeah, something I used to do in relationships prior was I used to cause arguments.
Yeah.
Like because I thought that was what the norm was.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'd seen, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I was trying to replicate that. So, and I thought like, okay, what, like, why are we not like arguing?
Do you know how funny that is? It's so interesting. And it's like, when there's peace and calm, like, instead of us to feel like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, now like, obviously now, yeah. But before it was like, there must be something wrong with this relationship. Like looking for something to like argue about. And also when I would be in a relationship prior, I already had, sounds really bad, but I would have someone like, that like, if this doesn't work out, I'm going,
got next,
my backup almost. I didn't have a backup, and I thought, okay, like this is really it. So I wasn't necessarily scared of the idea of commitment itself, but I was more scared of the idea of like, whoa, I've never really done this before. Like obviously I trust God, but how is this really going to work, sort of thing? But yeah, like I just really, really struggled mainly with receiving love. Like I just felt I was so undeserving of it. I thought like, the first man that was to ever love me, he's like left me. That means like I never should deserve love. This is too good to be true almost. Something is wrong. Like I have to like end, like find something wrong or try end this before like it all goes into smoke. So I think that really, really like impacted me. But then obviously just having the hard conversations with Toby, speaking to God about it, submitting to God about it, and just really like that, God is a good father. Like I am deserving of love. I am deserving of good things because God is good. I should stop discounting myself from things that like God desires for me to enjoy things as well. And like I can't allow past experiences to now define like an opportunity to create something new.
Beautiful.
I read in a book that every marriage is like has the opportunity to start a new society, because that's how we all got here in the first place. So not allowing like past what I've seen to like dictate what like my own marriage is going to be like, going back to the blueprint of what God has said, like Ephesians 5, like Genesis, like God's desire for love and to be loved, basically. So no, really being honest, being real, not trying to sweep it underneath the carpet and stuff, and like having hard conversations. Yeah,
I think the beauty of it as well is like marriage is a sanctifying tool, and like even if you thought you brushed something under the carpet, you go into it and
it's gonna come back.
It's gonna come back.
You have two options. Address it
or address it.
Yeah, that's literally it.
No, legit, that's it. And even when you address it one before, you might have to address it again.
Yeah, because you're coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, different expectations, different upbringing. It's just really different, and like you now have to figure it out together, basically. Yeah. So no.
Well, how beautiful is that though, in my opinion, like that in every aspect of life, whether it be friendship, whether it be marriage, whether it be, I don't know, within your family, in some ways, somehow God is going to sanctify you. Like that's going to happen. You are going to be pruned and stuff. I think mine is definitely similar. I feel like, always kind of trying to see what can go wrong. And I think that affected me more so when it came to dating. Like, Mike was also my only like real relationship at the end of the day as well. Like, I had one random fling,
Very
like,
good.
you know what I mean? But just whatever. Like, he was my only real one.
Like intentional.
Yeah, I haven't had a real intentional relationship. Like, it's only been him, and it's like, you know, as well. Like, there's, I don't know. There's this feeling, in, I guess, more so in a secular sense, like people may feel like they have to date around before they come to that first one, and it's like, you know, I've come across this person that like I have these feelings towards, and it's like there's also that aspect of like faith in getting married where you don't know what tomorrow is gonna look like. So yeah, like definitely like picking at things to put up walls so that person doesn't disappoint you is actually it's very counter is it intuitive? Yeah, it's very counterintuitive, because at the end of the day you want that person. That's the funny thing about it. But you'll be picking but
it's almost like your mind is trying to protect you because that's like what it thinks. It's almost like it can't separate between like, okay, no, like this is actually really good, but it's like, hey, hold up, the last person that we like, you know, gave our all to, like, look what happened. So
slow down. Do you get what I mean?
Basically.
Yeah. And I think also for me, it was like the idea of like the submission idea. You know what I mean? That definitely, I mean, when you've come from a single parent home where it's just been your mom, what?
And you've been independent, you've been like, doing your own thing. You know what I mean? You got a job, you're working yourself. Honestly, now, you're making money. Yeah,
bro. And even especially after I had my child, it's like especially adding the mother intuition, you just feel like you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing, and blah blah. And then I had to, you know, go through again the aspect of like, oh no, trusting that no, your husband, he knows what he's doing, and my husband's an amazing father, but also letting him do it freely. You know what I mean? Without any talk, without adding, oh, I think you should do it like this.
But that must come from you having to take care of your
my brother and myself, and just knowing what to do for myself. And I think sometimes as well, like kind of being a woman, you do, not that we all think this, every gender thinks this, but as a woman, you kind of feel like you just know what you're doing. Like, I don't know, I feel like we have this feeling. Is it?
Yeah, only because like I never really like desired to have like kids. I never thought I would get married. Like I really discounted myself from a lot of things. So maybe I'm the
exception. I hear you. Maybe there's probably people in your shoes as well. But even just away from marriage and motherhood, I don't know, as a woman, I just kind of felt like I have a sense of control.
Yes.
And maybe it's not a gender, so maybe not, let me not link it to gender. Let me just say, I always felt like as a person, I have a sense of control. And that was a hard thing to give up as well to God. Like, you know, that he is in control of all things. But yeah, like there's a sense of control when like also kind of controlling your environment. So manufacturing how you want things to look like, how you want your husband to respond, how you want your child to like how you want your life to look like. Control, So yeah, like that it definitely showed up in that way. And it's like in relationships, in marriage, it's like trusting the other person and seeing things as mutual, basically. But coming from a place where you've grown up where it's not mutual, it's just you know what I mean, has, you know, it's definitely a hard thing. And it's like, I feel like as you continue in life, it continues to show up, and then you have to continue to bring it before God. But there's many ways in which it shows up, and I think we're more so saying this to say sometimes like you can feel like, oh,
I've dealt with it whilst being single.
It's not gonna come up again.
My current friends are fine, but you're gonna make new friends.
And they're gonna
new spaces where you have to interact with people. You know, you might desire to get married, and that might also be God's intention for you as well. So you have to be like fully aware of like, whoa, there might be a, you know, 0.1% chance that I might have to go through this again.
Like definitely. And I think it's just, I think as we come to the end, like I think it's like one of them ones where like you have to be open to that. I think sometimes like we spoke about it before we started the podcast, that like how many of us are really that self-aware? There's only so, like, even for us who think we're so self-aware, there's not even, we're really not. We miss so many blind spots. Like, and I think it's more so being, just knowing that you're like that, knowing that you're flawed, knowing that I'm going to miss certain things, knowing that I might meet someone and they'll be like, oh, actually, you're really not good at this, or, and and being open to what that looks like. I think at the heart of it is just being open to being sanctified. being pruned and being healed or letting God have his way, you know,
I think
in
it's
you.
mainly a message of hope.
Yeah.
In that sense of like, despite what the circumstances may have, you know, come up with, of like, you know, not growing up with a dad.
Yeah.
That like there's hope. Like you can't be just so like, what's the word? You can't think so bleak of like everything that, you know, or because I'm having to go through this season by myself, that like God can't turn it around. That like there's no hope for reconciliation, there's no hope for healing, there's no hope for forgiveness, there's no hope for other things that are to come as well, and like discounting yourself from life experiences just because of like that, which is not to invalidate it, but you know, you have a whole life ahead and a life full of so many beautiful like things to come. So why like discount yourself
because of that?
Yeah,
it's hard to, I guess it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel in essence, and obviously we thank God that God is privy to those things, and then so that's an encouragement for us to run back to him continuously. But yeah, this is such a massive topic, and I think we've spoken quite a bit, and there's still so much that we can go into. And I think at the heart of it, it's more so to encourage those who are listening, and speak about such a big topic in our lives, something that affects us throughout. You know, I've seen people who've come out in like they're 50 and they've said how because their dad wasn't around, this is why X, Y, and Z happened. And I think it's more so to relate with the listeners, but also, like you said, like just share a message of hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because I know sometimes I feel like when I'm explaining my situation, because I'm so far removed from the feelings I had before, and now I'm reaping like a reconciled relationship. It's like it's hard to explain that. No, I had like 18 years of absolute hatred, like, or whatever, or 10 years of hatred, and I genuinely never thought this was gonna happen. I was ready to walk down the aisle with no dad, like, and stand strong. And some people have to do that because their dad's not around or they weren't able to reconcile. And I think this is more so because it oftentimes people carry this feeling as like it just becomes so part of them. It's this handbag that they never let go of, and it makes sense as to why. But I guess we're encouraging listeners, for any person in a similar situation, if they find opportunity to reconcile. And then on the other side, like if they find themselves similar to yourself, who is they're unable to, for whatever reason it may be, that
reconciliation is still an option.
It's still an option, but just through God, you know what I mean? And in fact, both of them are through God, you know what I mean? And also on the other aspect, the healing aspect, and the way when we submit these feelings to God, how he transforms us, how he heals us, how he comforts us, how in some ways he takes us so far from that feeling before that it almost feels like a new person, you know what I mean? Or old person, like you can't even imagine the fact that you used to have so much hatred or so much pain. And like this is a topic that's dear to my heart, obviously dear to Sotu's heart, and that's why we wanted to speak about it. So I just want to encourage anyone with that message. And if you guys have any comments or anything you want to share below, like please do, or anything that you want us to, or you want me to speak on or speak to within this situation. But at the heart of it as well, for anyone who's in a kind of messy situation, obviously we didn't go into so many specifics, but please try and reach out to a leader, like you mentioned before, a Christian leader or someone that you can speak to, like a mentor, therapist, a counselor. These feelings, though we partner with God in them, he's not against us speaking to others. A wise counsel, going to therapy or things like that. So we encourage you guys to do so. So today was quite a heavy one, quite reflective, and very nice conversation with you, Sotu. Thank you so much for coming. Really, really appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. And we'll see you in another episode.
God bless you.
Bye.